USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
Everything has a solution. And in fact, what you guys did was you paid a bunch of money to some people to remove all of this out, put new insulation in. And what's purify the air? How did they purify the air?
These are the plaintiffs, Jonathan and Lindsay. Jonathan says he just returned from active duty, and he and his wife purchased a home from the defendant. 2 weeks after moving in, it became evident the attic was infested with bats and mice. His wife wanted to move out immediately, but cooler heads prevailed, and they decided to get the situation corrected. The defendant had to have known of the infestation when he sold them the house, and they're here to recoup the $5,000 it cost them to get rid of the little buggers. This is the defendant, John Cacase. He says he bought the house, never lived in it, and flipped it after only 6 months. He had no idea there were any problems concerning bats. Heck, he's never even seen a bat in his life. Besides, the plaintiffs had the house inspected, and if their guy missed something, how's that on him? He's accused of driving home buyers batty.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Millian in our forum, the People's Court.
You see the come forward. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas. Jonathan and Lindsay, you've asked us not to use your last names, and we'll respect that. You are suing the person you bought your house from, John, how do I pronounce it?
Cacase.
Cacase. John Cacase, for $5,000. You say your damages actually exceed your statutory maximum in cleanup and air purification and attorney's fees that you had to go through because, according to you, he breached his contract when he sold you a house that ended up having bats and rats. If I got it? More or less?
More or less, Your Honor, yes.
Tell me your tale of woe. Go ahead.
Okay. Again, thank you for the opportunity.
You don't need to lean forward. We're good.
Oh, I know. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And after my wife and I had returned from active duty after multiple deployments to Iraq.
You were both in active duty?
I was, and she was alongside with me.
Yeah, I was not.
Thank you for your service, and thank you for your service.
And we decided to leave active duty to return back home to be closer to family.
Is this your first home?
Yes.
This is our first home, Your Honor, yes. The Army doesn't afford you many opportunities to purchase homes. Immediately after we purchased the home, I hired a contractor, my brother, William, to partition the upstairs attic space, which is going to be used as my son's bedroom.
Okay, how old's your son?
He was 18 months at the time. He's now 3.
Okay.
Immediately after he cut into the ceiling, he noticed that dead mice, dead bats, bat guano laden installation that was literally soaked all the way through the installation.
Bat guano is bat feces?
That's correct, Your Honor. And large quantities of pest feces fell from
How about the actual pests themselves?
They were dead at the time.
Okay.
And I do have a letter from my brother indicating all the following, if you'd like to see, Your Honor.
Okay, and did your brother take pictures?
I did.
Do you have pictures of the actual bats?
There is a photo that I provided.
Go ahead, show me what you want to show me. Oh, look at that.
That's one of many, Your Honor. And
this is inside of the what?
This is directly below the gable end roof louver in your house, basically the side of your house, Your Honor. And if you were to look directly below, which is what I did, you would have seen 4 inches of the thick tar-like substance spanning from corner to corner of the house, approximately 22 linear feet of 4-inch thick bat guano, dead bats, mold
Wait, you
spores.
saw it when you did what?
This is after my brother had contacted
but
me.
he took out, this wasn't visible to the naked eye when you were inspecting your house, right?
No, because we were going off of the disclosure form in which Mr. Cacase.
We'll go to the
listed that
disclosure
there was
form in a second. You paid an inspector to inspect
did.
the home. Did the inspector tell you that you had all this cleanup to do?
He did not.
Did you call the inspector about that after you saw this?
I did.
And make a claim against them?
I did not.
I guess I'm curious, why did you choose to go against him instead?
Because he knew about the issue.
How do you know he knew about the issue?
Because my neighbor, Rob, he is a local town police officer, and he had much dialogue with both Mr. Cacase and Brian Reck, who's beside Mr. Cacase.
Do you have an affidavit from him?
I do, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir.
I live directly across the street. I am friends with the original owners, Chris and Laura Conklin. Oh, who sold it to you? You
Correct.
bought this house to flip it, right?
I bought it to flip.
Okay.
If it didn't sell, I was going to live in it myself.
Okay. What did you do to fix it up?
It was a cosmetic renovation.
Okay. I live directly across the street, and I am friends with the original owners of the residence. Over the years, those residents, the people who sold it to him, commented on the bat and flying squirrel problems they had in the attic of their home. While visiting them on many occasions, I could see bats and flying squirrels enter and leave their home from the roof eaves. In January of 2011, they sold their home to the defendant. I met the defendant and his carpenter, Brian, that's you?
Yes.
And I would speak with both of them from time to time about the repairs they were making. The defendant told me of the deplorable condition of the home. I informed him about the bats and flying squirrels that have lived in the attic for years. And he told me he knew about them and that he was going to fix that problem as well. Is that true?
No,
Wow, he's
There
pretty
was-
explicit about it.
Your Honor.
it is.
Put your hand down. I wasn't asking you a question. One day in the summer of 2011, I saw Brian, come on up. He stated he was putting in a one-way door to let the bats and flying squirrels leave the attic. What work did you do vis-a-vis the bat issue?
The siding was peeling off the house, and underneath that siding, there were 3 or 4 bats that were there.
Live or dead? I guess dead.
They were alive.
They were alive. Okay.
I put up a bat door, which is enclosed on the top and the side, so the
Yeah,
bats
but a
could
bat
come
door
out.
for the siding?
Yeah, because the siding
What
was
about the
peeling
attic?
off the house. There were no bats in the attic. There was nothing in
Well,
the
no,
attic.
there were bats in the attic because we know that there's all kinds
Well-
of feces of bats
Well,
in the
there weren't-
attic.
there were
And then
no
we
live
have a
bats.
neighbor saying that the prior owner knew about the problem. Did anybody inform you about the problem?
When I purchased the house, we went up into the attic. We looked to see
Listen
if
to my
the
question.
roof-
Did they inform you of a problem?
No.
Okay. When you purchased the house, you went into the attic.
We went into the attic just to make sure the roof wasn't leaking, and there was no evidence of anything living up there.
Okay, but according to the neighbor, he says, I told him about the bats and the flying squirrels that have lived in the attic for years. And he told me he knew about them and he was going to fix that problem as well. Did that conversation take place?
No.
One day in the summer of 2011, I saw Brian working on the north side of the house. And Brian told me he was installing a one-way door for the bats and squirrels to leave the attic. Did that conversation take place?
No. No, because it wasn't for the attic. It was for where the siding was peeling off the house.
When you purchased the house earlier that year, did the sellers, the original owners of, well, I don't know if they're original owners, but did they have it? Do you have a disclosure form?
I didn't get one. It
Oh,
was
you didn't
a
get a disclosure.
foreclosure.
How does it work in your state? They pay you a amount of money, and
I think they knock like $500 or $300
that's how it works. So they
off.
can pay you $500 and say you're on your own.
We're done. Yeah.
And is that what happened? Right. And what happened in your sale to him? You didn't pay the $500 and say
No, I filled out a disclosure to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
We worked on the house
Was this an
almost
as-is
every
sale
day.
of the house?
It was.
Okay, you dispute that it was an as-is sale of the house?
This was not an as-is sale. This was not a short sale, Your Honor, or a
It's not a short sale. It has nothing to do with it.
foreclosure. And it was not an as-is sale. And I do in my real estate.
So it's a warranty sale. Let's see where there's a warranty. Seller agrees to sell and buyer agrees to buy for the purchase price and upon the terms and conditions stated herein, the real property with all buildings and other improvements thereon and all appurtenances thereto in the same condition as they were on the date of buyer's signature. This is an as-is sale. Okay, but that doesn't mean you're out of the water, because if in fact you know that there's a problem and you don't disclose it, which is why you were referring me to the disclosure form in this case. Termites, insects, rodents, pest infestation problems, answer no. Okay, so you have to answer that to the best of your ability. If you don't know there's a problem, that's fine. But the problem that we have is that I got a neighbor saying that he talked with you about this at length, about the kind of problem you had.
The only thing that we found.
And why wouldn't you, let's just talk about, okay, let's say that you had a bat problem in the siding and you had to install a bat door. Why didn't you even mention that much in the disclosure?
It was fixed.
Because it was fixed. But why wouldn't you mention that? Why wouldn't you mention that there had been an issue? Termite, insect, rodent, pest infestation problems? No. Let me see all your pictures.
This is the first photo of significant mushroom spore growth on the installation itself.
Mushroom spore growth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ugh. Okay,
That's
so
correct.
there's spores and the mushrooms are growing out of the spores.
That's correct,
All
Your
right.
Honor. You have bat guano stains on the plywood. In every single one of the 42 joist bays existed this or greater amounts of pest feces. This is the screen that Mr. Cacase had replaced. And you can tell, Your Honor, from the left side,
This is the back door we're talking about. That has nothing to do, okay.
That's the
back
louver
door,
on
the
the
back
side
cave,
of the
the entrance
house.
to the back cave. Okay, go ahead.
It was the back cave,
How do you
Your
know
Honor.
he replaced it and not the prior owners?
Like I said, Your Honor,
don't
I
know.
would suspect.
Okay.
As you see, there is a differentiation between the types of boards that were used, which this holds up the actual screen itself, which was replaced by what I suspect
By somebody.
to be Mr.
You can't
Cacase.
suspect. You have no evidence to suspect that. You don't know who replaced that.
That's correct,
So
Your
you
Honor.
cannot look at that and say, oh, whoever replaced it could have seen this. That's not what we're talking about.
Yep.
Your best argument is your neighbor who wrote
Yes.
that affidavit, who says that he chatted with the two of them all about it, but that he didn't disclose it to you because he thought problem solved by the back door. Go on.
As you
Easter
see,
eggs. What are the Easter eggs doing in the...
The previous owners had kids.
I don't care. I have kids. I don't expect to find my Easter eggs.
I'm
How did they get there?
stored stuff up there. I don't
Yes.
know.
How did they get? Oh, I know how they got there. The bats and the rodents. They took them. They chomped on them and they took them to their places. That's bizarre.
There's some impressive bats. In Your Honor, this is just to the left of that screen. You can see there's 3 to 4 inches of bat guano. It's pretty disgusting. It's unsightly, and it's unsanitary.
How did your wife react to all this?
She didn't want to move into the house.
I actually wanted to turn it back and sell it. I wanted nothing to do with this. I was very concerned for our son's health.
All right, go ahead.
That's our friend the dead bat, amongst many others. Again, this is a picture immediately to the right of that screen, and you'll see that there's 3 to 4 inches of bat guano. And this is what I discovered when I walked up into the attic space after my brother
I'm sorry,
started the
stop.
renovation.
So why didn't you see it when you inspected your house? Why didn't your inspector see it when he inspected your house? Did your
wish he
brother
did.
look at the house when you were buying it in order to tell you what he could do to it? Why didn't he see it? Couldn't have been that visible. Go on.
This is an email from Mr. Cacase to Betsy Pertel, who's with me today.
Who is she?
I'm the realtor.
This is from the defendant to the realtor, come on up, who represented, can you squeeze her in? Who represented whom?
I was representation for Jonathan and Lindsay.
Okay. This is an email from him to you.
Correct. He had his own agent as well.
And all of this I'm seeing just to see the bad blood between you guys, but that has nothing to do with rat feces.
Right.
And whether or not this is something that he knew about and misrepresented. And you guys are a little bit naive about stuff. I mean, you know, let me just tell you, if we were to strip down the People's Court judge's home and look behind some walls, I'm sure we would find some very interesting things in there. It's a house. They're not a bubble. They're a house, and they can be intruded upon by nature. So what they do is they don't know it's your house. They don't understand trespassing. And then you got to pay to get them out. Everything has a solution. And in fact, what you guys did was you paid a bunch of money to some people to remove all of this out, put new insulation in. And what's purify the air? How did they purify the air?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So, can this plaintiff get the cost of remediation, of getting rid of the bats and the rats, from the defendant?
Absolutely, I think he should. That should have been disclosed at closing.
Does it have to be disclosed, something like that?
Oh, yes, that definitely has to be disclosed, definitely.
Is it material that there are rats and bats living in the house?
Yes.
Is it really? Have you ever seen Vampire Diaries? It's like a really common, right?
Yeah.
It's like a really common thing, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Going inside the courtroom.
They filter the air through a HEPA filter, essentially an environmental filter. And they also scrubbed the walls down in the second story bedrooms and hallways. They also steam cleaned all the carpets. Furthermore, they also scraped up the 22 feet of 4-inch depth back guano. Wow. It was a terrible experience.
Now you're angry. That's what happened, is that you're out there, your neighbor comes up to you and says, what are you talking about? He knew it all along, and you're angry. I understand. I agree with you that the sale of this home is as is. But what do I do with the affidavit from the neighbor who says he told you that there were, in fact, bats and rats in the attic, and that you told him that this house was in utter disrepair and needed a major renovation? What does the neighbor have to gain by providing this incredibly detailed affidavit of his conversations with you two?
Nothing, as far as I know.
Based on what I have heard, I think that the plaintiff has sustained their burden of proving that it is more likely than not that you knew of a problem that should have been disclosed in the disclosure form. I am awarding the plaintiffs the full $5,000, and I'm going to order you to pay it.
The plaintiff in this case has won the maximum award of $5,000 against you. What's your reaction to this?
I respect the judge's verdict, but I disagree with it. I had nothing to hide, and his pest inspector and home inspector should have found that out before they closed. Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a lot of evidence in there that you had some knowledge of some activity going on there. Should you have been more forthcoming with that knowledge that you did have?
In the whole 6 months that I owned the house, I never heard or saw anything inside the house.
Okay. All right. Right around this way. All right. So come on in. You win your case. You sustain your burden of proof. What's your feeling coming out here?
That the truth was told and the truth was heard.
Mm-hmm. That is some of the most disgusting evidence I think we've ever seen in here. How did you stand it?
Like I said, I didn't want to move into the house. I wanted nothing to do with the house. It was really crushed our first time home buying experience.
Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even set foot in there until it was...
No, and I still have not gone into the attic.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Will you?
Nope.
You're not going to... It's all cleaned up, right? Isn't it all good now?
I took steps to remediate, but...
They're still staining.
All right.
My home is permanently devalued.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Harvey.
Okay, you know what? This is fraud. It is withholding a material fact from the buyer. Period. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
I think you're on mute.
Workday's starting to sound the same.
I think you're on mute.
Find something that sounds better for your career on LinkedIn. With LinkedIn Job Collections, you can browse curated collections by relevant industries and benefits, like flex PTO or hybrid workplaces, so you can find the right job for you. Get started at linkedin.com/jobs. Finding where you fit. LinkedIn knows how.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
This is the plaintiff, Lorinda Jennings. She says the defendant was driving distracted, looking down at something, and ran over her dog Scrappy in his truck. She rushed him to the animal hospital. His left leg was paralyzed, and after 2 months of therapy, nothing worked, and his leg had to be amputated. The defendant refuses to pay for his misdeeds, and this whole thing's been a nightmare because Scrappy's her best friend in the whole world. She's suing for $3,000, the amount of her vet bills, and pain and suffering. This is the defendant, Donald Wood. He says the plaintiff tells a good story, but it's filled with lies. The dog broke away from its owner, darted into oncoming traffic, and then boom, just like that, the dog ran into his truck. He's very sorry, but he did nothing wrong and owes the lady Zippo. He's accused of a doggone mishap.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant ran over her dog and it cost Scrappy his leg. But the defendant says the dog darted into traffic, so it's not his fault. It's the case of you're acting crappy towards Scrappy.
Thank you.
Can you put the dog
Missing
on the
leg is
other
not slowing her down. Is it a she or a he?
It's a he.
He's beautiful.
Can you put it on the side?
But can you please make sure that keep him on a shorter leash, I guess is what I'm saying.
Okay, sit.
What's his name?
Scrappy.
Scrappy. Okay, Lorinda Jennings, you are suing Donald Wood for $3,000 in vet bills and pain and suffering after your dog was hit by Mr. Wood driving his car. Tell me what happened.
Okay, I walk the dog at least twice a day. I don't have a yard to walk him in, so I put him in the car and I take him to one of the parks that he gets to walk in. And this particular day on November 6th, he jumped halfway in. He had his front paws in the car, and I went to throw the leash in. Something over here caught his attention, and instead of continuing to go in the car, he changed his mind and went across the street.
Okay, so your dog got away from you?
The dog got away from me. He made it across the street. He didn't make it back.
Oh, he doesn't like you telling that part of the story.
Yeah. I thought he could make it back, and I started encouraging him to come on.
You're calling him to come.
I'm calling him to come.
But he's driving on the road.
He was down far enough that I thought if the dog ran back, he would make it. As Mr. Wood is coming closer, I'm like, how do I tell the dog, no, don't come now? So I started yelling and, screaming for the car to stop. And I'm watching the driver. I'm standing right on the edge of the road, yelling and screaming and ranting and raving to stop the car. And he didn't look up until the dog was actually hit by his car. And I watched the whole thing. And at that point, then Mr. Wood stopped.
Okay.
Come on.
We need to take the dog out.
Okay.
Will that be okay?
That's fine.
Because I need you to be able to testify without worrying.
Now, does the dog like guys?
Sure.
How about black guys?
It's a myth. Can you just keep him away from Mr. Wood, please? Mr. Wood, what happened?
I was going down Comac Road, fairly busy street, and all of a sudden, dog was in front of me.
What's the speed limit?
30 miles an hour.
How fast were you going?
And then it goes 30, 20, 10 because there's a school there. And I wasn't even doing 30. I was doing about 20, 25.
Okay.
Now,
was the dog coming? Is it accurate that she was on one side of you and the dog was on the other side of the street?
They were on the left side of the street. There was a young boy on the right side of the street on a skateboard. The dog was basically going after the boy on the skateboard.
Oh.
That's why he pulled away from her.
Is it a two-lane road?
It's 2 lanes,
So the dog made some progress.
Yeah. It's a pit bull. He's fast.
So do you see her bouncing up and down trying to get your attention or not really?
I did not. I saw
I'm sure
her.
this happened in slow motion for you, but it happens in a second, right? I mean, we're talking about a couple seconds.
Not even a second. I mean, the dog was there. I stopped. The dog hit the truck at the same time that I stopped.
Okay.
I didn't run over the dog. I stopped at the same time.
Okay.
And
so after the dog is hit, what do?
I put on my blinkers, and then I got out, and I went in the front of the truck to help the dog. At that time, Mrs. Jennings came over, and we moved the dog to the side of the road.
Okay. And did you take the dog to the vet?
Immediately, yes.
All right. What vet did you take the dog to?
I took him to one of the animal hospitals nearby. Mr. Wood had suggested that I take it to his animal hospital and that he would help pay with the cost of,
Is that
the
accurate?
animal hospital.
No. After she went and she says, I'm going to take the dog to the animal hospital. I says, there's an animal hospital right down the road. I says, we take our dogs to the animal hospital there.
She seems to be under the impression that you offered to pay the bills.
I offered to pay for nothing.
Why did your wife end up there and put the entire thing on her credit card?
Because they called. I told her at the time, I says, I have a doctor's appointment. I says, there's nothing more I can do here. I says, I'm going to go to the doctor's appointment. And started to leave, and I says, I better give her my name, address, and telephone number, just in case the police come. So I did that. I go to the doctors. My wife calls me, and she says, they told me that you hit a dog, and you agreed to pay for it. I says, well, I did have an accident with a dog. I says, but I didn't agree to pay for it.
Did you agree to help? Did you agree anything?
I paid $100 for the dog.
No, but what did you say to her? That's what I want to know.
I didn't say anything to her.
So if Scrappy was running off leash and the defendant hits him, is the defendant responsible?
Absolutely not.
That was good. What do you think?
I think the driver should definitely be more careful when he's driving down the street.
Yeah, but really, when a dog is darting, I'm a big, huge dog lover. What do you think?
If the dog is off leash, then the owner of the dog is responsible, not the driver.
So theoretically, if Scrappy dented the car, the owner of the Scrappy would be responsible for the dent.
I guess so, yes.
Huh. Right? Huh.
Sure.
Going inside the courtroom.
The animal hospital called my wife on the phone and said, your husband just hit a dog, and before we can see it, the bill has to be paid.
And then your wife, you have a cell phone?
My wife
Do you have a
loves it.
cell phone?
She says,
Do you have a cell phone?
I have one, but I never use it. And I
Wait,
didn't
how did
have
your
it
wife
on.
reach you at the doctor's office?
She called the doctor, and the doctor has a telephone in the rooms. And that's
So why do you have a cell phone and not use it?
that's what I tell my wife. I says, I should get rid of it.
Talk about old school. How long have you been married?
45 years.
Okay. By the 45-year mark, we know each other.
Definitely.
Right.
And when she called me and she says, I gave them my credit card, I says, oh, why did you do that? I didn't agree to pay for anything.
Weren't you a little angry that she would do such a thing without your consent?
Yeah,
Because it
I
sounds
was,
almost
yes.
unbelievable.
I said, why did you do that? Why did you do that?
So you go down there right away to straighten it out after your doctor's appointment, and you tell them you need to take it off my bill. And they actually do, which is crazy, but in any event.
Okay.
So they take it off of your bill, and then you hand them a credit card, but they've already done the work, right? Or no?
They had already x-rayed him and...
But they weren't done?
They weren't done.
Okay, so you hand them your credit card, and then in the end, they thought they could save his leg. But there was so much nerve damage, and
That's
it was
correct.
so annoying to him that he kept biting at it.
This
right?
is where the pain and suffering comes in, because a couple weeks after the accident happened, we're trying to let him recuperate. Hopefully the nerves will kind of come back to life. We're massaging him. A friend of mine hollers at me from another room that there's blood all over the place. And I went to look and see what they were talking about, and I looked at the dog's paw. He had literally chewed off the padding on the bottom of his foot. So I had to bandage him up, throw
He's
towels
so better
around him.
off amputated. You know, he feels and looks like a normal dog. You
He's
know
so
what I
much
mean?
better,
Other than
absolutely.
like -1, you know?
Right, exactly. He was fine other than that.
Let me just ask you, how do you feel about your own culpability since the dog got away from you and you were violating the leash law that requires you to have your dog under your own control? I don't care whether he has a leash on. I care whether the law cares whether you have the dog under your control. Your dog ran across the street. Your dog got hit by a car, and between the dog and the car, the only one with a right to be there was the car. What say you about that?
I say that I was culpable. I don't deny that. I did not purposely let the leash
No,
go.
I know, but what does that do to your lawsuit against him for $3 grand? Like, in other words, how is it his fault? He's a car, he has a right to be on the street, versus your fault. I don't mean to make you feel bad. I'm just saying, it's one of those things. It'll happen. But legally speaking, I've got to make a judgment call based on whether or not I can put blame on this accident on the car, which has a right to be where it is, versus the dog that has zero right to pop up. Zero right to pop up.
Well, it could have been, it could have been somebody's kid. Like I said, I was watching him.
Yes,
I
if
was
someone's
watching,
kid ran across the street, he also wouldn't be prosecuted.
I was
or
watching
held
him.
liable.
I was waiting for the truck to slow down. It did not slow down until it already impacted with my dog.
Which only underscores how important it is to obey the leash law that requires you to have your dog under your complete control, because it could have been the pit bull attacking the kid on the skateboard. Could have also been that. but anything that it could have been stemmed from the fact that the dog got away from you. You know, a car is riding on the street where it has a right to be, and a dog gets out of your control. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Well, there's a very excited dog here in the hallway. Excited to see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did Mommy love the decision?
No.
Tell me about that.
No. There's not really much to say. I was culpable for, not that I allowed him to get off the leash, but he's very energetic, and in an instant, he got hit by the car. I feel that I bear a lot of the burden, but I also feel that Mr. Woods bears some of the burden also for not paying attention, because he was not watching the road. Otherwise, he would have seen me telling him to slow down, something. He would have seen me. He never saw me.
How's the dog doing?
He's doing fine, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, it looks great. Okay. All right, go ahead. You got him?
Yes.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
Head right around the corner this way.
All right, thank you.
Whoa.
No, he likes to hold his leash.
All right, so come on in here.
How you doing?
What's your feeling on this? Good.
I'm a dog lover, and I'm sorry for the dog. I really am. And it's her responsibility to make sure she has the dog under control at all times. That's the leash law that there is. And I had a dog, and it got away from me and ran into the road, got hit.
What's the ending?
The ending is I said, I'm
Marty?
It's fault. It's my fault.
So the leash law basically ruins her case unless it were clear that the driver saw the dog and could have avoided it. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.
This episode is brought to you by Tic Tac. Summer tastes like Tic Tac. Tantalize your taste buds this sunny season with citrus adventure and orange. 2 everyday flavors that bring summer in every. Tic Tac Citrus Adventure is a yummy, vibrant medley of lemon, lime, and mandarin. And Tic Tac Orange is the perfect mix of tangy and sweet. Visit us at Tic Tac USA on social to refresh your summer with Tic Tac.
This is the plaintiff, Frederick Nicholson. He says the slack-jawed defendants towed his car incorrectly, causing extensive rear differential damage, and they need to pay him to get it repaired. He has concrete proof they did not flatbed his all-wheel drive vehicle like they were supposed to, and he's suing the incompetent towers for the $2,130.76 he's owed. These are the defendants, Josh and Brian. They say they did indeed flatbed the vehicle, and when the plaintiff picked it up, he had no complaints. They did everything by the book, followed all the right procedures, and did no damage to the guy's transmission. So help them God. They're accused of damaging a tranny.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff says the tow truck company screwed up his whip by towing it rather than flatbedding it. But the defendant says he did nothing to the transmission. It's the case of transmission impossible.
Thank you, Douglas. Frederick Nicholson?
Yes,
You
Your
are
Honor.
suing the tow company represented here by Josh and Brian, who neither want their last names mentioned nor the name of the tow company. Are one of you the owner?
No.
Neither of you the owner.
No, we're the
What are your
drivers.
positions with the company?
We're the 2 drivers.
2 drivers, tow truck drivers. Okay, for $2,130.76, an estimate to repair damage that you say happened during the tow. Talk to me.
It was during the week, and I was going to work. This particular morning, I was running late because my 16-year-old daughter was driving me crazy.
Do we let him go already?
Yeah, I'm ruling against you. I have 3 teenage daughters, so I totally understand. Go ahead. How is she driving you crazy?
She wanted this, she wanted that.
Okay.
This was not satisfactory, this was not satisfactory. I'm only thinking of myself, I'm not thinking of her, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's our fault, but anyway, go on.
So I drove the car to the railroad, and I parked where I thought was an okay place to park, caught the train. When I came back at night...
I mean, you pretty much knew it was not an okay place to park, right?
Yeah, I was taking a gamble, I admit that. In any event, I came back and I was handed a card by...
The car was missing.
The car was missing, yes.
And then who handed you a card?
I believe it was someone who had worked at a house that was undergoing renovations.
Oh, so one of the
workers.
construction workers was kind enough to get a card to be able to give it to you?
Yes, otherwise I would have had to call the police.
Right.
And
How'd you get home? Did you make,
I had to take.
does your 16-year-old drive? No?
She wants to, but
okay.
I wouldn't let her. But I took a car service.
Okay.
So when I picked up the car, the towing company gave me this receipt.
Okay. How much did you have to pay for the tow?
The tow itself was $136.
Right.
But they gave me this receipt, which I'd like you to take a look at, Your Honor.
Okay.
And two things. If you look at that receipt, it says wheel lift. Whereas there's place to say flatbed.
Right. So go on.
So they checked wheel lift. They had a chance to check flatbed. They didn't check it.
Right.
So I'm assuming they didn't use flatbed. I didn't see that at the time.
Okay.
So I drove the car, and every time I went to turn, there was a loud screeching noise. So a number of days later, I took the car into the service, and I was told that the towing truck had damaged the car, the rear differential, the transmission. And I have this item which clearly states that, and I'll read it in, customer states after being towed, hears a binding, grinding noise from under vehicle when making turns or accelerating. $112 diagnostic fee applies. Technician found rear differential damage possible from incorrectly towing. Vehicle is all-wheel drive and must only be flatbedded.
Okay.
Replace rear differential.
Okay. And that estimate is how much?
Over $2,000, $2,100.
Okay. So did you call them?
No. Yes.
And who'd you speak to?
I think I spoke to O'Brien.
But you're not sure?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because,
and did you tell them, hey, you guys damaged my truck?
Yes, and he
my
said
car.
no.
What kind of car is this?
It's a Nissan 2011 Nissan leased car.
Okay.
And I have this, which a picture of the back of the car to show the words AWD, all-wheel drive, is clearly on the car. And
yep.
Also, I checked the handbook, and the handbook, towing recommended by Nissan, all-wheel drive AWD models. And it shows diagrams here, which I'd like to show you, Your Honor, of what is permissible and what is not, which clearly shows that you cannot have two wheels on an all-wheel drive vehicle running on the ground.
Are you an attorney?
I'm an attorney. But I hope that's not used against me.
No. Well, I have before me the two most hated professions on the planet, an attorney and a tow truck company.
Okay, don't worry about my feelings. Who has a worse reputation? Tow truck drivers or lawyers? What do you think?
Lawyers.
Why do you say?
Because they lie.
Just period. They lie. We learn how to lie in law school.
For good cause sometimes, not always for bad cause.
I got a B in lying, okay? What do you think?
Lawyers, I guess.
Why?
I don't know.
You just don't like them, right?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's lawyers, but odd time it's the tow truck drivers. You don't know where they're going to take your car when you're thinking they're going to take you home.
So you just basically want to argue with everybody else.
Exactly.
Which makes you a lawyer. We hate you. Going inside the courtroom.
So you tow him. Who's an actual tower?
Actually, both of us are the towers.
Okay. Who filled out the form? Okay. You tow the guy. You mark on the form that you, I want to use the exact term. You want to help me out, or should I just look?
Wheel lift.
Wheel lifted it. With this car, it's all-wheel drive. It says it right on the back of the thing. You've got to tow it on a flatbed. What are you going to do now? Tell me that you towed it on a flatbed, and I ought to believe you and not my lying eyes?
But the car was flatbedded, Your Honor.
That's it? Your entire defense is, That's it?
Well, we don't have no evidence or nothing, so there's nothing else
Who's
we
the
can say.
owner of this place?
Vincent.
Is he here?
No.
Is he watching? Gonna be.
Gonna be, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, Mo Curley and Larry, tell me how something like this happens, where you mark, you're the bed driver, so you're only marking bed because you're the flatbed driver.
I'm generally a wheel lift driver.
Say it again?
I'm generally a wheel lift driver.
Oh, so I thought you said you were generally...
Well, basically, man, when you work for a towing company, you got to drive every kind of truck.
Well, then why did he say he was a bed driver?
I was a bed driver for this job.
Okay. And what time of the day or night did you tow?
This was towed at about 2 o'clock.
Did any of you field a call from him? Did you get a call from him?
No,
Saying you
we
damaged
never
him?
got a call from him. As a matter of fact, I called him up and left him a message when I found out he was suing us in small claim court.
And what'd you say to him?
I asked him, I wanted to know what was going on because we had no idea about anything.
Right.
And then he called me back, and I told him maybe we could resolve this out of court. And he's like, no, why don't we just go to court and this and that? And he didn't want to know nothing else, and that was it.
Okay. Well, did you ever just offer to pay for it since you... is there a defense I'm not seeing? Do you want to check your pockets or anything?
Work something out.
Oh, work something out means he gives up something, right? That's what a deal is.
Well, not exactly that, but, ma'am, it's a 2011 car, and I know on the Nissans, the trannies and the rears are very weak. They're very
You don't
weak.
think his proof is strong?
No, not at all.
Okay. You guys, in the one place where you memorialize how you towed it, you memorialize that you towed it wrong. Nissan says the damage that they're looking at is most let's use the exact words Nissan used. Damage possibly from incorrect towing, because of course Nissan wasn't present, so they can't say you ruined it. If not you, then who? Do you want me to just take you out of your misery? I feel like I need to shoot you. Like you're slowly dying, I just need to shoot you and get it over. Because actually, you're not suing for enough, counselor. Did you not have to pay a diagnostic fee?
I had to pay the towing fee, which was
Well, no, your towing fee you're going to pay. Because you actually were supposed to be towed because you parked illegally. But I thought about that. But you thought about it and you had the good taste not to sue for it. So no, I'm not going to throw that in. But was there a separate diagnostic fee? Or do they take that off it when you do the work? Do you remember if you paid $112 that day or no?
No, I just remember paying one time.
All right, here's what we're going to do. I'm finding in your favor in the amount of the $2,130.76. Before you leave, I'd like you to make a phone call to Nissan. I want to know whether they're charging you that amount or whether they just take it off if you have the work done there. I just want to make sure you're not also out that amount. That's my judgment. Good luck, folks. You got a lot of explaining to do to the owner.
Well, would you be Mo, Larry, or Curly in this scenario? Mo, you think?
Yeah,
And
probably.
That makes you who, Larry?
The idiot.
All right, stand right next to him right here.
We could have told you what was going to happen beginning before it even went on, that she was going to take his side.
How would you have known that?
Because once I just looked at the receipt and I seen the wheel lift on it, I knew we had no defense.
Yeah, I like that. So the judge asked you to check your pockets. Where was your
I don't know
defense?
what was in my pockets.
No defense.
Yeah, exactly. We're a tow truck driver. What
Who's on
defense
first?
you gonna have?
Who's on first?
I don't know. You are?
Right this way.
Right this way, yes.
Okay, right over here. So step on in here. You satisfied with what you come out with? Here, step in here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
The judge did justice and was clear about it. And I can't thank her enough. Then when they said they wanted to work it out, in their mind, working it out was...
Tow guys. They're tow guys.
Yeah,
Come
they're
on.
tow guys. They don't want to work nothing out.
Harvey?
So here's the thing, if there's significant transmission damage, it's pretty clear that he couldn't be driving the car. So it seems that this car was not flatbedded. It's not clear, but again, these are cases that don't have to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a civil lawsuit, which means all you have to do is tip the scales slightly, 51-49%, and that'll do it in a civil case.